What's up, YouTube? In today's video, I'm going to talk about some of the books that had a big impact on my entrepreneurship journey. I'm going to talk about how it impacted my real estate investing journey, specifically wholesaling. And so hopefully you all can check out some of these books that I'm talking about. Books have made a big impact in my business life, my personal life, my spiritual life, and all facets of my life. All right, you all, before we go on, I want you all to comment down below and guess what time I'm recording this video. I'd just like to know down below, what time do you think I record my videos at times? Comment the time down below. All right, so the first book I want to talk about that had an impact and big influence on my real estate journey, real estate investing journey, is this book called The Catalyst. So The Catalyst is by Jonah Berger. And so he wrote a book about how to change anyone's mind. That was like the subtitle of this book, The Catalyst, How to Change Anyone's Mind, by John. He just goes through different things in this book, talking about like reactance, endowment, distance, different, I guess, categories that sellers and people face that you can break down. So he has a chapter on uncertainty. And we know as wholesalers, as real estate investors, we want our sellers to have certainty in them selling their house to us and us just providing that trust and that accountability in order for the seller to go with us in selling their house. One chapter I want to concentrate on is called endowment. So essentially endowment, in that chapter, he was just talking about how sellers specifically, we value things more when we own a certain property or we own something as opposed to we're buying something. So he gave an example where a study was done on a plain white mug. It's just a plain white mug, nothing special, nothing really distinct about the mug. And people were asked how much they would buy this mug for. And people were pricing it around $2-3, maybe close to $4, but the average price was at $3 that they would spend in order to buy this mug. Now they kind of switched the question on the people and they said, okay, so how much would you sell this white mug for, right? I think they got a new group in just to see what their thoughts were. And they ended up pricing this mug at around $7. So you see how we value things more when we actually own it and we want to sell. So you have to put yourself in the seller's mind in order to realize what they're thinking. Like, yeah, that's their property. That's their home that they lived in or their rental property investment that they made money from and they want to sell it, but understand where they're coming from. So a few things to break down endowment, or that sentiment that a lot of sellers have in overvaluing the things that they own in order to sell it, is that you can, number one, surface the cost of inaction, and number two, burn the ships. Surface the cost of inaction. So he gave an example of how you have to show the seller that if they don't do anything at all with selling their property, it will be a huge cost to them, right? You have to show the cost of not selling their property at that time, and specifically to you. An example he gave out was that he was helping a friend, or he was talking to a friend, telling his friend to not write out his name and thank you at the end of every single email, that he should have an automatic email signature to all his emails. The person at first wasn't really motivated to change his ways. He was all like, it only takes a couple seconds, it doesn't matter, right? And so this seller or this person was stuck in their ways. And so what he did to convince him, he basically said, hey, how many emails do you write a week? And the guy said, well, around 400 emails. And then he asked him, well, how many seconds does it usually take you to write each of that ending signature? And he was like, a couple seconds. And then it clicked for the guy. Like, he just took that time, the amount of time it took him to write email signatures times the amount of time he emails. In order to use his time wisely, he started searching for how to create email signatures. So you all see that that's very important with your seller. So let's say your sellers are stuck in their ways. They don't understand the condition of their property, how rough it is, and anything like that. You have to be able to bring out those levels of distress in their situation, saying, hey, if you continue like in your pre-foreclosure, the bank is going to get it. Like, find a way to make it really impactful to the seller that if they don't move forward with you, that they're losing out on something. Number two, this book also also talked about how you should burn the ship. So essentially you should make it in a way like the other person has no other way. So he gave an example of like an IT department. They had to update the new softwares from Windows 7 to Windows 10, but there were a lot of employees that just got stuck in their Windows 7 operating system and they wouldn't budge. Like no matter what you do, he would try sending emails just reminding, hey, do you want to upgrade? And they would be like, no, we're good. And so what he did, he just sent out an email saying, hey, we're going to update the softwares from Windows 7 to Windows 10 because of this and that or whatever reason. So he kind of burned the ship and not give people that option to stick to their Windows 7. Like, of course, if the employee came to them specifically asked, hey, I want to keep it, he'll let them keep it. But in order for him to go forward and convince these people to upgrade, he had to burn the ships. He had to make it seem like there was no other options that they could do. And so you can apply that principle to working with sellers. So The Catalyst is the first book I wanted to talk about. Now, my other books won't be this extensive, but I just wanted to talk about that. The next book I want to talk about is The Millionaire Fastlane. So The Millionaire Fastlane is extremely well written. I really enjoyed this book because it took the non-traditional approach. It kind of mixed like Rich Dad Poor Dad with Dave Ramsey a little bit, but it wasn't like on the track with Dave Ramsey, like work a 9-to-5 job, don't take risks, other things like that. He wants you to take risks. He wants you to start a business, but there's principles included in that, right? To take you to that fast lane to become a millionaire and other things like that. He even talks about like financial discipline, how it's so important that you keep your financial discipline no matter what income you have or how much you're earning. Like financial discipline is needed for every income class. And he just talks about different ways that we can advance into becoming a millionaire earlier in your life, right? Because I think that's so important, because usually you read books like, oh, just put your money in the stock market or in real estate and over time you'll become a millionaire. But there was all like, hey, yes, there are principles to that, but there are ways to fast track you to creating $1 million net worth. So that's The Millionaire Fastlane, really great book. The next book I want to talk about is Outliers. So Outliers, it's a book by Malcolm Gladwell, and it's not a traditional business real estate investing book, but I felt like this book really impacted my life, just knowing that there are outliers in your life, no matter what your background is, that gives you a competitive advantage in real estate investing, in entrepreneurship, right? We all have privileges and advantages that we need to hold on to. And so he talked about how like some parents would purposely bring back their child another grade so they can be the oldest of their class, right? So if someone was 14 years old, like instead of being a freshman or like a sophomore, whatever the age is, they would like purposely put them down a grade so they can be like older, because usually older kids are more mature, the other classmates look up to them, they're usually physically bigger and other things like that. It doesn't start like as late as high school, it usually starts like in 2nd, 3rd grade. Parents purposely do that, and so that's in a way is an outlier to give them a competitive advantage in their different areas and walks in life and different things like that. And maybe that's not the best example, but I just feel like in real estate, in your life, there's always something, whether it's through pain or suffering, that you can use to help you be a better real estate investor. All right, the next book I want to talk about is Profit First. So Profit First is a practical book about how to manage your finances as an entrepreneur, as a real estate investor, especially wholesaling. Like, look at your check, make sure you take some money and you put it aside, right? He recommends it to be eventually 10%. Like whenever you get some money, put 10% away and just save it, whether your company is worth billions of dollars or if your company is worth $100,000 or $10,000. Like whatever money you get, just put 10% set aside for yourself. And how important it is to pay yourself before you pay the government, before you pay the electric company that don't care anything about you. Like put your money aside first. And of course, I understand that people may not be in that situation to put 10%, but in this book, he talks about starting at 1% and then moving to 2% and then just growing day by day or month by month, whatever you can do to make sure you put aside profit every time you get paid. All right, the 5th book I want to talk about is Think and Grow Rich, right? It's a classic book. It goes over so many different principles that we can apply to real estate investing, like desire, faith, imagination, you have persistence, and other things like that. It's heavy on mindset, but at the same time, I think it's practical where we can use what's in this book in order to be be a better real estate investor, and other things like that. All right, the bonus book I want to talk about real quick is called The Slight Edge. So The Slight Edge is similar to books like The Compound Effect. It's similar to Atomic Habits by James Clear. So it just talks about, hey, just that little slight edge, day by day, compounds over times, and that's what really makes things change, right? And he talks about, you know, these are things that when we look at it, we're all like, I don't really need to do that. But at the same time, I should do that. It's those type of things that you have that mental battle in your mind, whether or not you should do it, that you should do. It's so small. That's why you have those battles in your mind. But The Slight Edge, great book, similar to those other books. And I find it interesting that a lot of these business books, they follow the same thread. And I need to do a better job in going back to reading books, because like these books I probably read a year ago, but they had a big impact on my life and my business life. Maybe I need to use more of this Slight Edge and just read a page every day of a business book or something like that. Because when I was reading, I was only reading like 10 pages a day, but I was able to get through like 10, 12 books in a year. I'm not a fast reader or anything like that. So that was good for me, coming from someone who didn't read a lot. I mean, when I was super young, I was reading, but like after like 8th grade, I wasn't really reading like that. But in college, of course, you read a little bit. But yeah, so those are the books I wanted to talk about. Hopefully you all have other books that you're interested in reading. Let me know down below what books that you found helpful in your journey. All right, you all, make sure you comment down below what time you think I started recording this video and making this video for you all. Just a time. You don't have to say the date or the day or anything, just a time. All right, you all, talk to you all later.